I was going through my own hell, fighting all my demons too. Should've picked up that damn phone. If I would've known you was leaving soon, the old me would've stepped up. Even if you messed up and it's your fault, then oh well. Would've told you to pick your head up. It's tough luck we come from.
Welcome, Outlaws to Advocates. Jesse Messer and George Nolan. How's everybody doing tonight?
If by everybody you mean me, I'm doing just fine. Pretty good week this week, man. We're almost up to over 100 listens on our podcast. Not bad for 1 week.
Not bad at all.
Pretty good place to start. How you doing, Jeremy? Oh, Jeremy didn't make it tonight. Outlaws to Advocates, we don't wait for anybody. Nah, he'll be back next week. So, how was your week, Jesse?
My week was great, man. Just dealing with some real life stuff. I've been experiencing some, like a lot of us have, some family addiction. And a couple days ago, my brother got arrested, got pulled over, a bunch of drugs, bunch of money, bunch of guns, the same stuff that we used to do. And now he's incarcerated with a $13,000 bond, and God's going to spank him a little bit.
Yeah, that's painful, man. I don't wish that journey on anybody. But, however, on the flip side, if you look at what our incarceration did to us, or what we were able to do rather during our incarceration, I wish him that path.
Absolutely, and it's so funny how just changing the way you look at something can really, really, really just change the way you view the situation. I mean, in the past, I would be thinking, how can I bond him out? We got to figure out how to get him out as quick as possible. We can't let him sit in there. And now it's like, the way I view it is it saved his life, potentially, because he was strung out on fentanyl, speed, and everything else. And there's a good chance that he could die. And for me, the only way I've ever been able to stop using is to get locked up and physically be taken out of that environment and isolated. So really, as much as it's going to suck that he's going to have to go through some incarceration and possibly some family separation, it really could be a second chance at life for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful when you talk about that, because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. Yeah, it was last night, actually. I went to a meeting out at a recovery center, and he's like, man, we're miracles. Like, look at us. Look at the stuff we're doing. Look at the lives we're living now. Like, all we had to do was just change our mind, stay sober. That's it. And by changing your mind, like, it sounds so simple, but one of the most important lessons I've ever learned is we get to choose how we look at anything. And there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Absolutely.
And that really sat well with me.
Yeah, another one of my favorite quotes is, don't be upset about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. That's one of my favorites too. And for me, for the work to begin, I had to get to a point in my life to where I could be honest with myself. I had no problem lying to everybody around me to get what I needed in any given situation to satisfy my needs and desires. But to really be able to look in the mirror and get honest with myself about the choices that I was making, how it was affecting my life, how it was affecting the people that I cared about, and really just being able to see that I was self-destructing and killing myself. I mean, that's a magical time, when you can actually come to that realization to where you can see things as they really are. And the only time I've ever been able to do that is locked up, right. Detoxing,
Yeah, and that look early on in sobriety, even if it's forced sobriety, such as incarceration or whatever other options there are for forced sobriety, maybe a lockdown rehab, something like that. That's not a great feeling. It's not a great look. It's hard to. It was really hard for me to feel anything at first, And even just a story I tell a lot. Like when I first got into recovery, I could not have a meaningful conversation without crying, because I was just so not used to ever feeling anything.
And just the shame and the guilt and the regret and everything that comes up, and just having to process all that at one time. Yeah,
it's that too. But like even the good stuff. Like anything I cared about. I remember sitting there talking to my deputy warden out at Safford about a driver's license rehabilitation class that I thought was really important to help people that are incarcerated figure out a way to get their driver's license back. And I'm trying to explain this to her, why it's important, and I'm just bawling.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, no, you're okay." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I do this all the time. I'm fine." But it's just I had never felt anything, or I hadn't felt anything for so many years, that the slightest bit of joy, like even like feeling something good, it resulted in tears.
And just getting to the point in our lives to where we're even able to feel. I mean, from what I've learned is that there's different parts to sobriety. And it starts with physical sobriety. First, getting to the point to where the drugs are out of your system and you're able to actually think and process information. And then after that, for me, it became learning to live without the drugs. And that's the stuff that you were talking about right now. Learning to process feelings, emotions, thoughts, learning how to react, learning how to view situations differently, learning how to treat people, learning how to be responsible. Learning how to take a look at my life and really figure out what success looks like to me and what's important to me. Just like you were talking about, you found so much joy that you broke down in tears on just being able to help another human being, or possibly put together a program that could help another human being with something as simple as a driver's license. But to somebody that's never had, for somebody that's been driving most of their life, like I know when I was high, there was years where I would drive without a driver's license. And having a driver's license is a big deal for somebody that's not used to living a normal life.
It's huge.
Yeah, if most jobs, even if you want to get in the trades right now, which is something that's in high demand for felons and convicts, because nobody wants to work, and there's a lot of people like us coming out of incarceration that are willing to work, but we don't have a driver's license. You got to be able to get to and from.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge obstacle, and that's why I'm really grateful they have the IRC program, the Inmate Release Court, that they're doing here in state of Arizona. And at certain programs, they're helping people who are getting ready to get released if they're completing certain programs such as Second Chance, and I believe they have a pilot program going with RSAT right now. If they complete that, they're able to get relief from some of their low-level, like misdemeanor traffic fines, stuff like that. And I've seen guys get as much as $18,000 in fines released, $6,000, thousands of dollars. Like, coming out of prison, on a good day, we got $250.
Which after your bus ticket, your food, and your phone, you have nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's if you're lucky enough to get a phone. If you got enough money for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, nowadays they're $1,000.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. That's why, so I seen today they did a reentry fair, or a resource fair rather, out at Perryville on one of the 2 yards out there. And I was looking on Facebook and I saw Matty Bergoglio from the Ion Network, Jerry from Freebird Auto, and my boss, Matt, from New Freedom, out there promoting hope and letting people know, letting the girls know what they have waiting for them when they do come home. Because the landscape's changed exponentially for release. I know what it used to look like when we got out, and it was $50, usually with a parole officer who was headhunting, and we'll see you on your first dirty UA, and you're right back in prison. That's changed, right? It's changed. I've heard the horror stories. I've heard people still say, well, this, that. Yeah, nothing's perfect, but it's improved considerably. The whole podcast that we're on right now is from resources.
That's
all this
awesome.
equipment's from resources. The computer that we use is from resources.
Well, even drug treatment's from resources. Back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, you wanted to go to a halfway house. It was go to some roach-infested house for, $150 a week.
Bed bugs.
And just hope for the best, with half the house using, and just hope for the best. And now, Access will pay for multi-million-dollar facilities to offer some of the best care, with help with vocational resources, or therapy. All kinds of different stuff, man. It's amazing. Yeah. Food.
Things have definitely changed. While we're talking about resources, this apartment that we're sitting in, I was able to get housed through a resource too, which is the SSVF program for veterans. If you guys haven't heard about that, definitely check out the SSVF. It's offered through CBI, and it will get veterans housing rather quickly, rather painlessly. It took me about 2 days to get in here, and I've been moving ever since. Having that stability is super important. I know what unstable feels like, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how you spend so much of your life in chaos that you almost find comfort in it. But then when you get to a place in your life to where you turn it around and actually you get a taste of normalcy, or what normalcy is, just going to work, honest day's work for an honest day's pay, and just some people would describe it as a simple life, man. It's so rewarding. It's like, why did I ever find comfort in the chaos? This is so much better and so much easier.
Absolutely. I was talking to my friends Colby and Boo last night, And I told Colby, I was like, man, I haven't had a bad day since I've been home. I go to bed exhausted. I wake up happy. I work my butt off all day long. And it's not even really work. I get to do this stuff. And people pay me for what I was going to do anyway. I heard you say that the other day when we were having lunch together.
Yeah.
And it's so true to, like, that's the definition of being in your purpose, I think.
Yeah, getting paid for something that we would do anyway, that we do anyway.
Absolutely.
That we've done anyway for years in our incarceration.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Persevere, because I had we talked about the last podcast about not having a website up. And Callie Unruh, who I do some work with, she reached out and said, hey, we know some people who design websites. And they run the program for people who are incarcerated to learn full stack development and coding. They're a nonprofit. And they're helping people change their lives before they release. And I didn't even think about that resource, and that's somebody I work with and talk to through emails and on phone conversations 2 or 3 times a week.
Just goes to show, man, you're doing the right thing, doors open.
Absolutely.
People want to be a part of it.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool. Speaking of being a part of things, you see that camera right there?
I do.
Yeah, I don't have any batteries or the charging cord for it. I have no idea where I put them.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
So I gotta work on that.
Old habits die hard. A bunch of electronics with no charging cords laying around the house, no batteries.
That might be some carryover old behavior. I don't know
those days.
I'm gonna have to keep.
Yeah. I've been there, done that.
I'm definitely gonna have to keep my eye on that.
Yeah.
So what'd you do last night?
Let's see. Last night I worked a pretty late night. So late night. So I didn't get off work until 9:30. I work at a treatment center, and from 6 to 8, I facilitate a life skills course, and then afterward, note documentation. And I got home about 9:30, 10, spent some time with my dad, and crashed out.
Nice. How's your dad doing?
He's doing great, man. And, it's the little things in life that you learn to appreciate, like when you're incarcerated and you think about, the relationships that were lost, the family time that's lost, that just not being able to go get something to eat when you want it. And just last night, just being able to sit with my dad and just talk with him and laugh with him and watch some TV and, get him something to drink when he wants it. And just being able to have that time is just, I'm so grateful for that.
Awesome. Because I remember when we were incarcerated, your dad, I believe, had a stroke, right?
He did. It was tough.
And I remember how stressed out you were about it and if you were going to make it home in time. And so, yeah, being able to cherish those moments, super important. And I'm really glad you have that opportunity.
Yeah, the most valuable asset that we have is time. Because the thing with our time is it's something that you can never get back. So when you give somebody your time, you're giving them part of your life that you're never going to get back.
Absolutely.
You can't put a price on that.
Absolutely. That's 100% the case. I look forward to doing this podcast literally all week.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
It's so great. And to see the amount of support that we got last week and people hearing the message. I even got a text message from an old friend that said, hey, man, I was sitting around feeling sorry for myself and need to get moving. I didn't get the job I wanted and, the usual stuff that comes with reentry challenges. And I listened to your podcast and she goes, yeah, it's all it's all on me. It's all on me. It's my responsibility. I got to get up and get going. She was able to set some goals. Now she's getting up a little bit earlier. She's running, doing that kind of stuff. And that's just the one we know about. That's not the 99 other listeners that we have because we're obviously crushing it.
Well, and this is the thing, man. I mean, for people that know us from how we were to how we are today, I mean, they can see the transformation. But for those of you out there that may not have known me and George and our addiction, I can promise you we were gutter dope fiends. We were the real deal. I mean, I could not function without getting high. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't have sex. I definitely couldn't hold a job. I mean, I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't go to sleep if I didn't have drugs for the next morning.
No.
I mean, my entire day was consumed around making sure that I had drugs.
Absolutely.
My life evolved around it. And, today I don't even think about it. That obsession, that stronghold, all that's gone. And for somebody like me to not be loaded right now is literally a miracle.
Absolutely.
So I promise everybody that's out there that doesn't know us, that's maybe struggling with some addiction, there is a solution. Because we are living proof that people that live like that don't have to live like that anymore.
Right. Absolutely. And like you said before, like in the beginning, the what'd you call it? The physical recovery or something.
Well, physical sobriety is where it starts.
Physical
I mean,
sobriety,
we got to
yeah.
get the drugs out of our system. But that's not where it ends. That's where recovery begins. Because until the drugs are out of my system, then I'm not going to be able to start dealing with the real issues, which is learning to deal with life on life's terms without the drugs.
Absolutely.
You know, something I learned in recovery was that, you know, it's got very little to do with not getting high or not drinking. It's got everything to do with learning to live without the substance.
Yep.
You know, and I really believe that. Because really, I'm just that 13, 14-year-old kid that started using and never grew up, never learned how to deal with emotions, feelings, thoughts, people, you know, relationships, responsibility. I didn't know any of that stuff. So now you fast forward 20, 25 years, I'm still that kid that's never learned to deal with anything. So now I have to learn to deal with life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I really value about, like, especially our relationship, is that I know, because life's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. Life's pretty hard. But I know when I'm going through something, whether it's a breakup, whether it's stressed out at work or whatever, you know, like if I got some life stuff going on, it's so nice to have someone that I can trust, that I can talk to, you know, between you and Jeremy and a couple other friends that I have. Like, that's an unbelievable gift. We hear people say, I hear people say all the time, you know, like, I'm good, I don't need anybody, self-made. I don't even believe self-made's a real thing. It's impossible to do it. It literally is impossible to do anything by yourself.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You had to get help from somebody. If it's building a business, if it's building a birdhouse, you know, someone had to chop that tree down and get that wood, do that work.
Company had to make the tools.
Absolutely. You know, there's no such thing as self-made. It's
A bird's got to live in the house.
you definitely need a tenant who's going to pay the rent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, man. But yeah, just the power of a support group and who you surround yourself with. I had a great experience where I saw somebody that we worked with while I was at the Second Chance Center. And he was explaining to me the power of having the right people in your life. And I saw who he hung out with in prison.
Yeah.
And they weren't necessarily the right people.
Yeah.
But that was a lesson that he learned, moved on, and now he's working, doing great, and you can see the happiness in him.
Well, that's the thing with life is that, you know, we don't fail, we learn. And one of the things that I promote when guys that I'm sponsoring, you know, in class when I'm teaching life skills is the importance of a support system. Because if you're anything like me, everybody that I've ever gotten close to from the age of 14 is a drug addict. People that have been in and out of prison, basically the gum on the bottom of society's shoe. And now that I'm trying to live a different life, if I don't build new relationships, new connections with people that are like-minded and people that are on the right path, then what's going to happen if I just think that I can just work my way out of it? Okay, 6 months, 9 months, a year, I work, I stack. Eventually I'm going to get bored. And who do I have to associate with? Those old friends, those old people that are doing the exact same thing, those old girls that are doing the exact same thing. I'm setting myself up for failure.
Yeah, that's the truth, man.
I've got to build new associations. You know, and what that looks like to everybody may be different. You know, I'm a 12-step guy. I'm a church guy. You know, they've got sober groups in the Phoenix area. You know, the Phoenix. You know, where they've got different little activities that you can do with sober people. Whatever that looks like for you, I want to encourage all of you guys to try to build a network of people that are like-minded, because that's going to be the difference of having somebody that you can talk to that's going to uplift you, or somebody that you can talk to that's just going to bring you down.
Absolutely. And I heard somebody say it a long time ago. I forgot who it was. But there's like two kinds of people that you can have in your life. You can have people that are adding value, or you can have people that are taking away. And if you have people that are constantly taking away from you, you're not going to have anything left for yourself. And I really believe people get confused with the term selfish.
Well, they say you want to see your future, look at your 5 closest friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the truth. If you don't know anybody who's winning, what are your chances of pulling it off?
Not well.
Not great. You know, if you need to get a couch moved and your friend's not willing to sit here for 5 hours until the couch shows up,
Yeah.
what kind of friends you got?
Well, it's like I said, you know, you learn to pay for that delivery and that installation, you know, to where they just carry it upstairs for you, so your friend doesn't have to wait 5 hours for the couch to be brought, you know, to your house. That's an option as well. There's different ways to look at the same situation, you know, like we talked about perception. Yeah.
So, yes, I like to give Jesse a little bit of shit because he might have ducked out on helping me move a time or two, but he did come one day to help get a couch delivered, and then the people with the couch never showed up. So,
Yeah, and that's on you. That's on you. I was here. I was present.
Definitely my fault.
My time has value. I'm never getting that time back.
What about the 17 years?
I'm never getting that back.
Me neither, man.
And that's something else. That's something else that haunted me forever. I had so much guilt, regret, and shame for the way that I lived my life and for the choices that I'd made, and just for, how I was so far. I felt behind. And the thing about recovery is that you can take your deepest, darkest, most shameful, regretful times, and that can be an asset that can help save somebody's life. And then all of a sudden, it's not for nothing.
Absolutely. That's a great thing about peer support.
Yeah.
Right. We get to take those experiences, because I didn't change my life till I talked to my buddy yesterday. He had ran into somebody that we did some time with, who is now experiencing homelessness and outside of a Goodwill. And he called me. He said, "Hey, man, dude needs some help, blah, blah, blah." I talked to the guy. He doesn't have a phone. I gave him my number. I'm like, "Well, call me when you get a chance. We'll get you in a detox." And he decided not to make that phone call, unfortunately. I hope he does. But everybody gets to choose that. But he started telling me that he's a younger guy. He's in his 30s. And he's like, "Man, I wish..." He goes, "I'm so happy now. I'm sober. My life's great. I wish I would have taken your advice, when you first started talking to me about this stuff in 2020 or 21 or whatever." I said, "Man, we all learn in our own time." I'm like, if you want to look at it from a comparative point of view, I didn't learn this stuff till I was 45. So you're way ahead of the curve, man. You're crushing it.
And I definitely didn't learn from somebody telling me.
Absolutely not.
You couldn't tell me nothing when I was getting loaded.
No, absolutely not. And that's something I talked about, like the world. Everybody I know, everybody I loved, everybody that I know loved me, which is even more important, told me, "Don't do drugs. Stop doing drugs." Didn't listen. No. State of Arizona said, "Stop doing drugs."
4th grade dare officer, "Don't do drugs."
Don't do drugs. Nancy Reagan all the way back. And
just say no.
The state of Arizona, here's 17 years, whatever 17 times 365 is.
Chew on that.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough.
Nope.
What was enough for me is when I finally made that choice. I just want to be better. And my path's different than a lot of people who have recovered. I did drugs less.
Yeah.
I don't, just for the record, disclaimer, I do not recommend that recovery plan. But I did drugs less. And eventually it led me to making better decisions. My mind cleared up. My body started clearing up a little bit. That physical sobriety you talked about, I started feeling again. And then I made that decision. And once I made that decision, I almost think it's dangerous for me to say how easy it is for me to stay sober now. Because I still do the work. I work in recovery every day. We have these kind of conversations, whether we're sitting here on a podcast or we're driving to get some bomb burritos around the block.
That cost $50 these days. I couldn't believe that when I got out.
For 2 of them.
Yeah. 50. Not 15. $50. Taco truck. Yeah.
The only reason Jesse's here tonight is because he knows that taco truck is just around the corner, by the way.
It's George's turn to buy. So. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you came by tonight, dude.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you came by tonight. I'm glad everybody out there checked in. Once again, my phone number, 480-527-6326. If there's anything we can do or any service we can provide, resources you need connected with, for all you guys and girls that maybe just got out of incarceration, you're back home, before you spend any money on anything, please give me a call. There's a lot of resources. There's a lot of things available. I literally just got, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 dress shirts, 4 or 5 pairs of slacks because I had changed jobs. I was working virtually, and now I work in an office, and I work with the community. And I needed some nicer clothes. And I went to Dress for Success here in Phoenix, which is this, I believe, St. Joseph the Worker resource. And they got me in a whole bunch of nice clothes. And the very next day I was talking to a girl that I know who went through Persevere. She was unaware of that. She went down the following day, and she texted me. She was so happy about the clothes that she was able to get. Because I saw the girl stuff. The guys had a room like my apartment. The girls had like an apartment building. There's a lot of resources. So please reach out, ask for help. It's where there's hope, there's life, man. If we can change, I'm literally the guy that used to stand in line to use a dirty needle in prison. Literally that guy. I stole, I robbed my friends. I did all the dirtbag stuff you can imagine. And I'm sitting here today happy and preaching and begging everyone just to realize that if you want change, it's possible. Anybody can do it.
Absolutely, George. That's powerful, man. Guys, if nobody's told you they love you today, I want to say that I love you guys.
No.
And the reality of it is, like George said, anybody can change. We were an example of people that were thought would never change, career criminals. And we're not that way anymore.
Absolutely not. Well, thank you, man. I'm trying to extend this as long as possible because I don't want to have to pay for burritos, but I think I'm screwed.
Oh, you're paying. Because I won't leave. I won't leave without him. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Everybody take care. We're out.